That'd be bad. Okay, I think we're ready. Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started here. Welcome to the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors meeting. Today is January 10th. It's about 9:04, and before we get started, we're going to do a quick little announcement here before we get to our pledge and our invocation. Jody?
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to let you all know that we did have one matter that was too late to add to today's agenda that we will be adding. It is related to our local flood emergency here in Stanislaus County. We're going to do that right after the invocation this morning, so I just want you to be aware of that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jody. Okay, if everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I'll ask you to remain standing for our invocation this morning by Mike Gunnarsson from City Ministry Network.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for another day. Thank you for our community. Thank you for the beauty around us and the resources you've given us as a community. And thanks for the rain that we've needed so badly. Thank you for the freedoms that we have for a country in which we are free to have a voice in the governing process. This morning I take the opportunity to pray for our county of Stanislaus. Even though there are many blessings around us, there are also many needs and challenges. I pray that those who live here in our valley, who are broken, addicted, and living without hope, those who have lost jobs and are struggling to get by, those who own struggling businesses and are personally struggling with their health, I pray they would find joy and hope, health, provision, and a deep sense of community and fulfillment in their lives. I ask that the broken parts of our community would find restoration. I pray that families would thrive, businesses would prosper, our schools would flourish, that farms would richly produce, and neighborhoods would experience peace and healthy relationships. May this truly be a great community to grow up in and to grow old in for every citizen. I pray for our leaders who are here this morning. I ask that you would bless them. I pray that you would bless their families, their friendship, their health, and their businesses. Protect them, lead them. May each of them come to fully know the depth of your love for each of them. I pray that you would give them wisdom and insight and integrity as they lead with courage and unity and humility. Guide their discussion and their decisions on every agenda item this morning. I ask this all in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Michael, thank you very much. That was great. Okay, it's good to see everybody here today, and it's good to see all of us here. We've been gone for a while, so it's good for us all to get back to the business here. So we're going to start off first. We have this item too late for the agenda. And I don't know, Jody, if you want to.
Yes, I'll go ahead and do that. So thank you. And once again, we did have one item that came up that was too late for our posted agenda on Friday. And we are required that if there is an item too late for the agenda, that we bring that matter forward in a two-step process. The first step of that process is to tell the board about the item and why it was too late to have on Friday's agenda, and then to have you take a vote to add that item to the agenda. We need a 4/5 vote in order to add this matter. The second step of the process will be to invite the department, in this case, our Sheriff's Department. I believe we have somebody here, I'm not sure exactly who's here, to go ahead and present the item itself. Or we're going to have somebody present, so let me just say that. So let me go ahead and start with the first step of the process, and that is the actual request to add the item. In this case, Government Code Section 8680.9 is a local emergency, is a condition of extreme peril to persons or property proclaimed as such by the governing body of the local agency affected by a natural or man-made disaster. And in this case, we did have a local emergency declared yesterday in Stanislaus County related to our current flooding situation. That emergency was declared at approximately 9 a.m. yesterday. The government code does require the Board of Supervisors to consider confirmation of that emergency within the course of 7 days. And because we do not have a board meeting next week, and actually would have been outside of the 7 days, today's board meeting is the time for us to go ahead and take that matter up for consideration. Also a good time for us to just alert the public that that local emergency has been declared. So staff first request in this first step of the process the following 3 recommendations. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2, please find that there is a need to take immediate action to ratify the proclamation of a local emergency due to winter storms and flooding impacting Stanislaus County. 2, the need for action came to the attention of the county on Monday, January 9th, 2023, after the board agenda was already prepared to be posted. And 3, approve adding an item too late to the agenda and place the item on this agenda titled, Approval to Ratify the Proclamation of a Local Emergency Due to Winter Storms and Flooding Impacting Stanislaus County. So those are the 3 staff recommendations. And before we go on to the next item, I'd be happy to answer any questions and request your support.
Okay, thanks, Jody. Any questions with regard to just adding this? Okay, seeing none, any questions from the public with regard to this? Seeing none, then we will look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Very good. We take care of that one, and now let's move on to the actual item.
Okay, and I just wanted to confirm that, do we have copies of these items available on the counter? Oh, they're right over here. So if anybody wanted a copy of any of these items, you are welcome to have one that's right up here. The next item is going to be presented, I believe the sheriff's walking in. Is that what I was told? Okay, all right. That's okay. So we'll go ahead and transition over to him while Brooke brings up a couple of slides that we have here. And the title of this item is Approval to Ratify the Proclamation of a Local Emergency Due to Winter Storms and Flooding Impacting Stanislaus County. While we're waiting for the sheriff to go ahead and walk in, I'll just share a couple of items for background. I think everybody's well aware of the storm challenges that our community has faced in the entire state of California, essentially, over the last couple of weeks. Been monitoring this situation very, very closely. And we don't take the declaration of a local emergency lightly, so we have waited to ensure that conditions were such that you would need to take that kind of a step in the process. In our case, in Stanislaus County, over the last 24 hours, we did have some circumstances materialize that we felt necessitated the declaration of that local emergency. And right on cue is our Stanislaus County Sheriff, Jeff Dirksey, to tell you all about that.
We killed all the time we could.
Yes, thank you. Well, good morning. My day started early, and I think that my internal time clock is off. I'm sure, like everyone, everyone who got woken up by the tornado alert, which there was no tornado. So, yeah, but it messed me all up. So anyway, yeah.
I just wanted to dispel the myth. You're not the person who pushed the button to wake us all up, right?
No, that was not
That was
part
not
of the
you?
EOC.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right, well, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and CEO Hayes and Mr. Bose. So, yeah, thank you. As you all know, yesterday we did declare a local emergency. It is not something that we do lightly. As the Director of Emergency Services, I don't really care for that idea of we always have an emergency, and if I do declare one, I want everyone to kind of think that, yes, there is something going on. So we have an update on that. The shortest version of this is that I think that it was not as bad as anticipated. All of our flow rates have stayed below the maximum forecasted flow rates, and I'm specifically talking with that on the Tuolumne River and Dry Creek on the east side, and the same on Oristema Creek and Del Porto Creek on the west side. The maximum flow rates would have exceeded the 1997 floods for everything, and that was 3 or 4 days ago, and we have not seen that. But what we have seen are some unexpected incidents, specifically up in Diablo Grande. We had a
a flow slide is what it really was. It wasn't so much mud, it was kind of a flow that came down and backed up a bunch of water courses and impacted some homes up there. Brooke, you want to go to that next slide, please? So we had, that was an unexpected one. Everyone thinks if you're up in Diablo Grande on the hills, you probably don't have to really worry about water because it goes downhill. But that was an unexpected one. And then Highway 33 also had some unexpected water crossing the road that shut it down in about 2 or 3 different spots. And you can see that, oh, you went to the flow rates. Yeah, that one, thank you. We have 2 evacuation centers because we have been doing some evacuations specifically on the west side and here in kind of in South Modesto. 2 centers are open. You can see them in front of you. And there are a total of 67 folks who have been evacuated. Power outages, there have been a few power outages across the county, but in very, very limited scope. Usually a couple houses here, a couple houses there, no mass power outages or anything like that. And that is what you see in front of you. Now the flow rates, I do want to kind of come back to that. So Brooke, if you can go to the next one. Back up a couple. Right there. Dry Creek and the Tuolumne, like I said, those are the 2 key ones here, kind of in the center part of the county. Dry Creek, as of a few days ago, was forecast to peak at 13,500 CFS, cubic feet per second. And on New Year's Day, it peaked at about 6,700. So that would have been double that, but we are down well below that right now. Today, it's supposed to peak at about 5,300 CFS, so below what we were on New Year's Day. And I live on Dry Creek and checked it out this morning and think that's probably fairly accurate. Same thing with the Tuolumne River. Our concern with the Tuolumne River has been downstream of the Dry Creek confluence with the river. So basically from the 9th Street Bridge west, just because the Dry Creek flows. And originally it was forecast to be about a foot over flood stage, and now we're down to 48.9 feet, which is actually below the monitor stage. Monitor is at 50 feet, flood is at 55. So as it sits right now, we don't expect any major flooding from either of those. And on the west side, Orostimba Creek was our single biggest concern. And it, like I said, it was supposed to peak above the 97 flow rate, but now it's quite a bit lower. And we've not seen major impact from that. I was out there yesterday, spoke with, the concern there was the city of Newman specifically, which in 97 downtown was under a couple feet of water, and that is not the case. Has not materialized yet, and we certainly don't expect it to happen at this point. All that being said, we do intend to keep the local emergency in effect probably through the weekend. I was on the phone with the EOC earlier today, and there are still about 2 inches of rain forecast through the weekend, depending on which weather forecast you want to look at. And so we do want to keep the local emergency in place through that and then reevaluate on Monday. And that is really it, pending your questions.
Okay, Jeff, thank you very much. Any questions for Jeff? Jeff, I appreciate, like you said, that we hold this back and we don't cry wolf all the time, or else we end up with nobody paying attention to us.
Exactly.
So I very much appreciate you waiting till this point to do this, and very good. Okay, Jody?
Just a quick note to let you know specifically what the staff recommendations are this morning pursuant to California Government Code 8630. Ratify the proclamation of a local emergency in Stanislaus County due to current winter storms, flooding, and potential evacuations in Stanislaus County. And the second staff recommendation is to authorize the Sheriff Coroner, Director of Emergency Services, to take the necessary actions in accordance with Stanislaus County Code Section 2.52.110 to respond to this emergency. This action does require a 3/5 vote of the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jody. Okay, if no other comments, questions from the board, anybody from the audience? What comments, questions? If not, we'll bring it back to the board and we'll look for a motion.
To approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously. Jeff, thank you very much.
you.
Brooke, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to our election of new officers here, and I guarantee you this probably won't take us 15 votes to do this today, but we will do this. And so this is the time that the changing of the guard, we bring on a new chair and vice chair for the coming year. So I will look for a motion from the board.
Mr. Chair, if we could take them together?
Perfect.
If everyone's okay with that. I'd like to put Chance Condon's name in for chairman and Manny Graywall's name in for vice chairman.
Very good. We have a nomination there. Any discussion or any other thoughts?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Very good. That was easy. All right, we'll switch chairs here.
Washington DC, take note. That's how it's done. All right, well, we'll see how this goes, huh, Terry?
It'll go good, don't worry.
I had some good coaching coming in.
You got this.
All right. So we will move on to what item number are we on?
We're on item
Item number 4, recognition of the 2022 Chairman of the Board of Supervisors. So, Mr. Withrow, if you can join me over here. How many of these do you have, Terry?
This will be my third one here.
Speaking for everyone. Well, Terry, it's been an honor to serve with you these last few years. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I can go on and on. But if there's things that I do know about you, is that you're guided by your faith, you're committed to your family, and you're motivated by the service of others. And that's something I've tried to emulate the best of my abilities. So I just want to thank you and appreciate you for your service and add this to your collection. But thank you so much.
Picture? You guys got to do a picture really quick. Chairman, do the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing pictures?
Tornado alert.
All right, moving on, item number 4.2, the recognition for District Attorney Birgit Flatiker upon her retirement from Stanislaus County. CEO Jody Hayes.
Okay, good morning once again, and it is truly my pleasure to be able to host this recognition for our retiring district attorney, Birgit Flatiker. I'm going to start by asking her to come down and join me.
Started there?
Okay, can we do this without, oh, that's You want to try it now?
You're in stereo.
Okay, better? Okay, very good. Okay. Good morning, how are you? I had the opportunity to ask her, what was it like waking up over the last week not being district attorney? She said it was very nice. Okay, so I know it's oftentimes easier to just sit in the audience and listen to us talk, but I really like to pull people up here and when we have these nice words to share, but to also maybe ask you a couple of questions along the way. So bear with me. I'm going to do the best I can with this, but we're going to have some fun as well this morning. So on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, community members, and county leadership, I wish to acknowledge and recognize Ms. Birgit Flatiger upon her very well-deserved retirement, having dedicated 36 years in public service, including 32 years with the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office. Ms. Flatiger's journey started with obtaining her undergraduate degree in political science from St. Olaf College in Northfield, Minnesota. Did I get that right? It sounds very cold. It was very cold? Okay. Of course, she graduated cum laude on the Dean's Honor List. No surprise to those of us who have worked with her closely. Although I did see that you spent some time studying in France as well. Were you just escaping the cold?
Yes, and learning French.
And learning French. Okay, there you go. So she went on to warmer weather and completed her law degree with the University of Pacific McGeorge School of Law in Sacramento. And then upon graduating from law school, Ms. Flatiger joined the United States Navy, serving as a JAG officer, evaluating, advising, and prosecuting cases for approximately 4 years in military service. She was awarded a Navy Achievement Medal for her excellent service and was quickly recognized for her leadership skills with increasing responsibilities for supervision of her fellow officers. Within just a few years of law school, you were already supervising others and had been recognized for your service. Ms. Flatiger joined the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office as a Deputy District Attorney 3 in September of 1990. So I was able to review some of your file materials in preparing for today's presentation. Don't worry, there's nothing bad in Ms. Birgit Flatiger's personnel file, I trust you, trust me. And I noted on your application materials that when you originally applied for your job, you were given 10 of the common assignments in the District Attorney's Office, and you were asked which one of these assignments most appealed to you, or you actually asked to rank them from least to most appealing. Do you recall which one you indicated was your most appealing assignment you wanted? And okay, you do not recall. It was felony trials, and that was your #1 goal when you entered the District Attorney's Office, and then that was no surprise to us as we have seen your career progress over time. We don't need to talk about the other items you rank low on the list, okay? Just kidding. Okay, you actually, in truth, you actually wrote a whole thing about how you liked all of the items on the list and you were struggling with having to pick one or the other, but felony trials was definitely #1 for you. Ms. Flatiger made an immediate impression in Stanislaus County. After just 12 months, her evaluation remarks included, Ms. Flatiger has impressed this is 12 months on the job, okay? Ms. Flatiger has impressed every judge before whom she has tried a case. One of our judges remarked, she is highly polished for a beginner and always prepared. I don't think they knew you weren't a beginner. You had already had 4 years in the Navy prosecuting cases. Her supervisor added, Ms. Flatiger has demonstrated that she is a dependable, conscientious, and skillful advocate who possesses the potential to develop into a first-class prosecutor. They all saw her future and knew it was bright. Other evaluations remarked, although soft-spoken, she takes her adversary role seriously and is a very effective, hard-fighting advocate for the people. Keeping with our Navy theme here, her supervisor remarked, she is doing exceptional work and has the potential to become a Top Gun trial attorney. There you go. I'm sure your supervisor was so proud when they came up with that. Right? As a deputy DA, she filled roles throughout the office. She worked in drug enforcement, domestic violence, all the felony caseloads on the felony team. These are the highest level cases. With one supervisor noting, there is no position in this office which would not be well served by Ms. Flatiger's presence. She was promoted multiple times in tandem with her growing reputation, ultimately appointed to the role of Chief Deputy District Attorney in October 1999. The prevailing theme of her time as a chief deputy was to lead by example, working difficult assignments throughout the office and oftentimes directly involved in the most complicated cases facing the department. As everyone had grown to expect, she never shied away from a challenge. Ms. Birgit Flatiger was elected district attorney in June of 2006 and was subsequently appointed as district attorney in July of 2006 to fill the vacancy created by the retirement of our former district attorney, Jim Brazelton. She was the first woman to be elected as district attorney in Stanislaus County and was ultimately elected to serve our community over 4 terms until her retirement just this last week. She served in good times and in very difficult times, guiding the department through the Great Recession and rebuilding when opportunities arose. She ushered in new eras of technology and built a robust foundation for victim services, including the creation of the Stanislaus Family Justice Center. So I had the pleasure of working with Ms. Flatiger in many capacities during my own career, including when I led the county's budget team during some of these times. You really get a true sense of how a leader values their priorities in those private budget discussions behind closed doors, when sometimes as a department head, you need to roll up your sleeves and do some vigorous advocacy. Ms. Flatiger was a staunch proponent for her staff in all of those discussions, recognizing the hard work and tireless dedication of her prosecutors and support staff at all levels. So let's just say that I heard from her often on ways that we could better support the staff of the district attorney's office. And through many of those conversations, I almost felt like I was on trial. And I was also very, very happy that those conversations took place in a conference room and not in a courtroom with the jury present. Lucky me, advantage CEO's office. There are so many other people who could speak from the heart about the impact District Attorney Flatiger had in our community, how her dedication to hard work and serving the public left a lasting impression on their lives. I want to share one more story I read in her file that I feel summarizes the Birgit Flatiger I came to know in Stanislaus County. So while assigned to the Crimes Against Children and Sexual Assault team, she was responsible for prosecuting the types of cases that most of us must admit are well beyond our grasp to work with. Oftentimes working directly with victims to process unspeakable crimes. In preparing for today, I came across some comments from one of those victims who had suffered a horrendous sexual assault. Through the process of supporting this victim, Ms. Flatiger did what she always did best, which the victim described as the following. Ms. Flatiger is an extremely bright woman with not only knowledge of the law, but knowledge of human nature. I would not have known how to make it through the most difficult period of my life without her. I couldn't say it any better, so those are the words I wanted to share with you this morning. On behalf of our entire community, I want to thank District Attorney Birgit Flatiger for her tireless service to the residents of Stanislaus County and congratulate you on your very, very well-deserved retirement. Congratulations. So we do have our ceremonial clock that all retirees get. Well, you have to earn the clock. It's not like just a given. But we do want to provide an opportunity for you to say a few words, and then I know some of the board members may have comments as well. So it's all yours.
Thank you, Jody. Thanks for bringing that one piece out. What I'd like to say is I have so enjoyed my 32 years with this county. And it's been an incredible honor to serve as a prosecutor. And it's been humbling to have the opportunity to serve as the district attorney, which was never a job I wanted, ever. It just sort of happened. And so I look at it now, and in 32 years, half of that time I was a prosecutor in the courtroom or a supervisor, and the other half as district attorney. So it's funny how that works out. And I'm very proud of what I've accomplished as the district attorney, but would never have happened without the support of all of my staff, everyone in the office who are fabulous employees, and I can see former employees. You can't do anything without people wanting to do the job and being motivated and willing to do that work. And those are the folks in the district attorney's office. On top of that, there's all kinds of partners that we have, which include the Board of Supervisors, CEO's office, all the law enforcement agencies, Sheriff's Department, Modesto Police, Turlock, Ceres, Oakdale, Newman, you name it. We work as a team, and we value each other to protect the community. But one other, just last little bit is, as much as I've been so honored to be the district attorney and really appreciated the trust placed in me to do that job, the best job is when you're a deputy DA in the courtroom, working directly with your crime victims and making justice happen and seeing it happen and knowing every day what you've accomplished. As a supervisor and as the DA, sometimes you go home, well, most of the time you go home and you go, what did I do today? A bazillion meetings, I'm not sure what I accomplished. But when you're in the courtroom and you're working with crime victims, you know what you've accomplished. So a big thank you from me to every district attorney employee, past and present, and the ones coming on board last week and this week. A big thank you, and I wish you all the best.
All right, I get to say something here. So, and I'm going to miss your party, your going away party, so I just wanted to do this today. So, over the years, I've been around 12 years, and 12 of your 16. And over the years, I got used to being able to sit down and talk to you about whatever items were coming up before us here, things that were going on just across the county. And a lot of times I would, I'd go to my bank and you were right upstairs from the bank. So I'd call or I'd text you, or you're in your office, and I'd just drop in unannounced all the time. And I appreciate you accepting me in there for that. But the one thing I want to say, and Jody kind of hit it a little bit with kind of the heartfelt things that I really respected about you, Birgit, the most, is that you always will do the right thing. You're, regardless of how it might affect you personally, how it might affect, your next election, whatever the case may be, you would always do what was the right thing to do instead of trying to look down the road and try to figure out, is this going to work for me? Will this work in my next election? No, you would make sure that justice is served, and you would always do the right thing. And I could always count on you for good advice whenever I went to see you, because I know that you were straight as an arrow. You knew exactly what the right thing to do was and what should be done, and you would do it kind of fearlessly, regardless of how it would affect you. So we all love you here. We all love the work you've done. We're going to miss you a ton, and I know you're going to enjoy your retirement. And just thank you for everything you've done for Stanislaus County.
So it's great. I've spent some time on this board also and gotten to watch Birgit work. For staff, I want you to know there was no more of an advocate for their department as you had in your department head here. Sometimes it doesn't appear that way because you don't know the conversations we're having, but she was tough to negotiate with for sure. And as Jody alluded to, when I know I'm outgunned, I just don't take the meeting, right? If I'm going to lose, I'm sick, right? Something. But there's been, what I've seen, Birgit, is you changed the culture for the victims. And we've had victim advocates before, but now it's all about the victims, right? Trying to help them through, and it's not just with Honor or these other dogs that you have, but it's really about trying to bring peace to them while they're doing, through the prosecution process. It's very difficult on them, and I don't think that was recognized before you. And with 32 years, you've also seen the whole criminal justice system change and morph into something that's probably, some would say it's more difficult. Some might say it's better, depending on what side you're on. But you've seen this gamut, and that's what you were willing to change the culture based on that, what you saw. And so that's pretty amazing. I think you've set up the next district attorney for success, which is great. You have big shoes to fill, Jeff. I wish you the best in retirement. It's been wonderful working with you. And again, I know you won't disappear. You have too much talent. And I have to have the conversation with you, not right now, but why you joined the Navy. I thought that is fantastic. I knew that, but
I think that was, you were on your path to be a district attorney right away when you got out of college if you wanted. And so that really, again, sets you apart. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
Yeah, you can just.
So now that you don't have to wake up at any particular time, we're going to give you a clock. Okay. We also have a commendation on behalf of the Board of Supervisors. A lot of these words we've already shared as well, but that's for you to hold on to. And did we get it appropriately engraved? Did you just do the quality control review?
We got the years and
Okay,
everything.
we got the years and everything on there. So here you go. Okay, thank you very much. And we're taking one last picture? Okay. And can we have the entire board come up for a moment, please? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Oh, we're doing one, I'm sorry, we're doing one more. I've been instructed to do one more, and we're following instructions. Okay, thank you. One last round of applause for District Attorney Birgit Meyer.
Birgit, thank you for your years of service and your consistent pursuit of justice. And I know you have a good follow-up lead, and Mr. Legero, I know he'll do a good job for our community. All right, so moving on to the public comment period. This is a time for the public can comment on items that are not related to the agenda. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes. Do we have, before we open it to the public with the yellow sheets here, do we have any written comments from email? No? Okay. All right, so first up, we have Pamela Kelly. Hi, Pamela. Good morning.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you for serving our community. It's appreciated. I'm Pamela Kelly, a resident of Oakdale for almost 20 years, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Oakdale Rescue Mission. I am one of the founders and a volunteer for that organization for 15 years. If you want to know more about our organization, you can go on our line, on our website, and do that. My purpose today is really for a call to action. I'm requesting all of you, some of you, or at least one of you, who might be interested in our story to be able to speak on behalf of Oakdale Rescue Mission. About 2010, I had a conversation regarding a property on Center Street, and it had to do with the use of that property, which was used, it's county property, and it's next to another nonprofit organization. At that time, the conversation didn't go anywhere. In 2015, we met with the Stanislaus Chief Executive Officer, also again regarding that property. During the past year, we have had conversations, meetings, and provided written proposals regarding that property. I'm tired of having those conversations, not because folks have not been doing a good job at trying to get that property turned over to Oakdale, but because the details, I think, the mess is in the details. So I'm here today to sort of present a picture of Oakdale Rescue Mission, not funded by government funding, not seeking government funding, and able to do something with that property if it's handed over, and I'm using casual language, I don't know how that works, sell it, buy it, lease it, give it, whatever that is, so that Oakdale will be able to use the property and then decide whether Oakdale Rescue Mission has a value and a vision that we can benefit our community. So that is my purpose today, is asking you to be interested and speak in behalf or have a conversation with me for the details. We have, I'm going to use just initials, we have a person on disability with an income of about $1,000. She's been on a housing list for a few years. She's redocumented into the coordinated entry system, which currently has about 2,000 people on the waiting list to get housing. Where shall she sleep? On the street? no, she could sleep on the street. We have 26 people who've died since we began our ministry in Oakdale because they have been on the street. And I was moved to come here and to be more persistent about that property when one of our recent friends, homeless friends, died on the street one day after he was released from the hospital in November. And ordinarily we, as an agency, can say, oh, we did all we could. Oh, they didn't take services. Oh, he wouldn't go to a shelter. Oh, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And what dawned on me was that we can turn our back and use those excuses and that rhetoric, or we can face up to the fact that he may not have died if we could have done something. If he could have had a bed that night, would he still be alive? We have JT, a veteran, who because of a partner program that we are starting, U-Turn, is able to be housed in the last month after 10 years of being on the street. This is not with no funding, by the way. This is happening in Oakdale with no funding. If you drive through Oakdale, you will see the evidence that we have been there for 15 years. And you'll know what I mean if you drive through Oakdale. DL died in December 2021. She was well known in the city for never getting off the street. It didn't matter what we did. I used to go and pack up her stuff in my trunk, bring it to Oakdale Rescue Mission, which is a day program service only. And she still would not go there, spend any time. But my question, but I know her well enough to know that if I'd had a bed for her to sleep in every night, she probably would have been alive. Just a bed, housing for one night, she probably would have been alive. JM, 32 years old, he died in 2016. He got frostbite sleeping down at the river, went to the hospital. They amputated both legs within 3 weeks. They discharged him within 4 weeks, which is no recuperation time at all for a double amputee, and he died at Motel 6 in Oakdale, surrounded by drugs. Could he have been alive if we had had a bed for him to recuperate? Maybe. These are the stories that are aching as I work in this ministry. And we're not asking the county for money. I am tired of giving descriptions and project. We have a wonderful vision with our partner U-Turn, but we also have a vision with Oakdale Rescue Mission for no money and hearts gripped by God. We can take people off the street and not have any more die. So I'm asking you to pay attention to the property on Center Street in Oakdale. We have been working, conversations have been done, but I think we misled them ourselves by not looking at it separately, U-Turn and Oakdale Rescue Mission. Oakdale Rescue Mission can do something tomorrow if we have that property, and we don't have to ask you for a dime. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you for your service to Oakdale. Our next speaker is Melinda Screeden. Melinda?
Hi, gentlemen. Happy New Year. You know, I'm actually going to forfeit my public comment because I think what Pamela Kelly said is all that needs to be said today. But what I will say is I will just bring a little picture of that. I do want to say one thing, but it has to do with Oakdale Rescue Mission. Last year, Mr. Beck-Condit, you met me on that property, and we talked about how it was a perfect location for the zoning to do something with it. Do you know that at that point, I did not even know that for 10 years, Oakdale Rescue Mission has been trying to get that property? About 6 months ago, I partnered with them because accessing county services to help the people, because we do have different missions. You know, mine is more mental health, substance abuse, but it's all connected. And we connected about 6 months ago, and we found that the property, like, we had the same vision. And she's right. There is no county funding being requested from them because it's completely faith-based. And there's community people and contractors and materials that will be donated to build a community so we can house those very people that she's talking about. So I'm not here today to talk about U-Turn project at all. I will do that in a couple weeks. I will come and you will have another separate visit from me. But I do want to leave you guys with the latest flow sheet that Stanislaus County and the City of Oakdale does have, showing exactly the services that we're trying to put together, as well as the latest proposal that's going to the city and the county. So I'm just going to leave that with you. in a little folder here, and the clerk can make copies for everybody so you know exactly what's going on in Oakdale. And like she said, you gentlemen hold the authority. You can sign a piece of paper, and we can start saving lives. Like, we really need people to step up, and it is a call to action. So with that, I love Pamela Kelly. Her passion for these people has inspired me. And I just thank you all for being here, for being in your positions, and I hope that you hear what she said. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, next up we have Blanca Rivera. Blanca, good morning.
I guess here we go again. Coming up to you again, asking you for a final living expenses for IHS providers. I am an IHS provider. I provide services for my mother who has dementia. And all I can say is we're back here again trying to persuade you to give us a livable wages. And we're not going to get rich on this money, but we are going to be able to supplement any income, other income that we have coming, because we don't get paid a 40-hour week. You know, that doesn't happen. It's rare that it happens, where the state would give us a 40-hour week to take care of our clients. So the only thing I can think of is we're here again. Hopefully this will be a blessed year for the IHS provider. That depends on you guys and how you approach your negotiation team. So that's all I can say, man, because we're just running out of words. Now we need action. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Stacy Garcia. And Stacy will be followed by Sebastian Jones. Stacy, good morning.
Good morning. I'm just here, and I just standing in front of you this morning, and I hope that you guys listen to everything that we did come forward with you guys from IHSS. Hopefully you guys can consider giving us that raise, living wage, and I appreciate your guys' time, and hopefully you guys do take all our words in consideration, and I hope that this year we're able to continue to work with our IHSS clients to provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Mr. Jones, followed by Astrid Zeniga.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a new year. I thought I'd be retired. Got pulled back into this. But I'm glad I did. Well, I have 2 or 3 to say. I've been talking for the last 6 years. You guys need to change this time. I sit on the Commission of Aging, and I look out for senior citizens. I really think the time, 9 o'clock, is too early, and I think the ACLU need to look into this, because this is too early. My second is I didn't see nothing on here about proclaiming the Dr. Martin Luther King birthday celebration. I don't know if you do that here, but I think it should be considered. And my third is the ICE workers have been coming at your mercy. I listened to when you said, followed by your faith. They can't go on strike. No, they can't. We tried tried to bring some of the clients here, and you remember some of them couldn't sit still. So that didn't work. And all he's asking is a living wage, which is nothing. I look at all you guys, I'll sit up there celebrating everything. But what about the heart of the people that's bending their back, doing extra? My patient way in San Francisco had 2 brain surgeries, but guess what? I managed to go and see and support and love. I don't get paid for that. It's dangerous going on that road. I suffered COVID. It almost knocked my vocal cords out. But thank God for UC Stanford. They doing the best to repair it. But this should come to a close. We're in 2023. I'm getting older. I want to get out of this, but the people call me back. So I said, well, I ain't got nothing else to do. But I think what we need to do, since we had a deadlock, you guys are not moving, not trying to give a little comfortable wage. I think that we need to send a letter to the governor to send a supervisor down here. Because we're not getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere. You guys said y'all got it by faith. And where your faith at? When people are doing extra, whether it's a loved one or a friend, and it's saving you guys a lot of money. I visit a nursing facility. I had to write them up. Guilty. Understaffed. Where's you guys inspectors? You're talking about a light switch when a person falls on the floor and you gotta use a light switch and not a pull tab? I'm deaf on them. I'm not gonna mention their name. But I'm gonna close. I think we need to write a letter and have everybody sign it and send it to the governor to send us a supervisor. He works for us, and we had a deadlock. They're not giving in. So, get the letter ready.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Zeniga, followed by Denise Dean. Good morning.
Happy New Year, you all.
Happy New Year.
So we are here. It's 2023. It's been 8 long months. And as I've said time and time again, home care workers are an essential workforce. We have lots of natural disasters that are happening right now, and it's our home care workers that are there helping our seniors and our disabled evacuate. It is those that are helping them find a place or bringing them into their home if they don't already live with them. And yet, time and time again, this workforce is not recognized and not given the respect that they deserve. And the wage increases that we've asked for over the last 8 months actually aren't even a livable wage. But it's something, and something is better than nothing, I guess, at this point. A living wage would actually be somewhere between $28 and $29 an hour. And because of the minimum wage increase with the state, I mean, we got an extra 50 cents, right? I mean, that's the way most financial people will look at it. They should be happy with that. Not when you have to choose between whether or not you buy your medicines this month or you keep your lights on or you pay just a few dollars and call TID or MID and say, hey, I can't make a payment till next week, or I can make a half a payment now. And that's what most of our providers are going through. Or they're standing in the lines at the food banks during the holidays because they have no other choice. But yet they are providing your community's most vulnerable the care that they need to remain safely in their homes and live another day. So I did notice that you guys are going into closed session today, and I just want you all to take that into the back of your minds, and I hope that you do what's right, because this has been far too long that we've been at this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Denise, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Denise Dean, and I have a ministry. We're part of a ministry here in Modesto, Fruit of the Spirit. I go out every week, and I feed the homeless, and I clothe the homeless, and I give them shoes and tents, and so I'm right down in there in the trenches, in the worst parts of this city, seeing the hopelessness and hopefully giving them a little ray of hope, which is a little Band-Aid. There's a couple properties here, one on Coffee Road, and there's one over on Empire Avenue that are for sale, that are zoned for multiple housing. I'm looking for resources or partnership. I'll do the work, to open some sort of anything to keep them out of the weather. I know 2 people have died here that I know because they froze to death out there in the weather. Right now, this rainstorm, they're trying to live out there in tents. December, we went out and gave them rain boots and snow gear, hoping that it would help them survive out there on the street. I know that it's a complex problem, and I understand that there's a lot to it. But if we could get these properties zoned for some transitional housing, or even just a warming center, a place where they could go and get out of the rain and out of the elements. It's really hard for me to go home every night and get in my house, and my house is cold, and I'm complaining, and I couldn't imagine what it's like to be living out there on the street. And I do, because I go there every week and see these people and feed these people, and they've become my family. If there's any way that you could partner with me to help even just a small percentage of them. The main thing that I see is the disabled, people in wheelchairs out in the street. I just don't understand it. The old elderly, those are the people that die in the elements, the cold. The young people, they're a little bit more robust, but the elderly do not need to be out there. I don't know of anything besides, I do partner with the Gospel Mission. I know Melinda and what she's doing over in Oakdale, and I'd like to reproduce that here in Modesto. I've been doing this ever since you had that little tent city over there underneath the bridge. Just having that one little covering makes a big difference. So, I really don't know what I'm doing here, talking to you people. I've never done this before. So that's what I have. That's my agenda. If there's, if we could, I have, like I said, 2 properties available. One is on Coffee Road, 203 or 2309 Coffee Road. It's an empty lot, quarter of an acre. Maybe we could put some, anything there. The other one is over in the airport district at 603 Empire Avenue in Modesto. That one's not on the market yet. The lady that is helping me is holding it off the market until I can try to figure out what to do about it. If there's any way that you could send me in the right direction, or I don't know how any of that works. So that's what I have today. They're freezing out there. They're cold out there, and it's unhumane. We have shelters for dogs. And I know we have some shelters here. Salvation Army does a great job. Gospel Mission does a great job, but there's more. There's a bigger need. We need another shelter. Those are full. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Denise, thank you.
If I could just, Denise, really quick, both for you and then Pamela and Melinda, and Pamela to leave. So we're all over this, trying to do what we can. We have, for the last 6 years, done all we can as far as housing and our low barrier shelter and all kinds of things as far as getting beds set up. But what it's come down to now, and you're exactly right, these people are all going to die on the streets unless we get them off the streets. And we can't, at this point, we can't force people off the streets, and that's where we have to change, and that's what we're working on. There's two things that we're working on. Because all the I keep saying, the low-hanging fruit, if you guys have heard me say this 100 times, the low-hanging fruit, we've got those individuals that voluntarily want to go into shelter and need help, but they're usually the people that don't have the most severe mental illness and the severe substance use disorders. Those people sometimes don't even know that they're on the streets and that they are homeless. And those people need to be involuntarily taken off the streets.
Yes.
And we have two things going on. One is CARES Court, which was passed by the state of California, the CARES Act, which is allowing us to finally start to take people involuntarily off the street with severe mental illness. That's a good first step. The next step that we're working on is people with substance use disorders. Same thing. They need to be involuntarily taken off the streets, not put into jail, but put into a treatment center. And we don't have this Pollyanna view that you go into a 28-day program, these people that have severe substance use disorder, a 28-day program, you'll be fine. I mean, there's going to be a cycle of recovery and then relapse, recovery, relapse. But the only way we're going to save lives is to involuntarily start taking these people off the streets and get them into treatment. And so we right now are working very hard with our public defender, our DA, our sheriff's department, our law enforcement, our judges to try to figure out a way to legally, without violating people's civil liberties, to get them into treatment involuntarily. And that's the only way we're going to save these people's lives. And so I just want you guys to know I very much appreciate all the work that you're doing, but we are all over this right now and working on trying to figure out how to start picking these people off the streets involuntarily and getting them into treatment with the purpose of saving their lives. So
yeah, amen. I totally agree. I'm out there, and that's exactly right. They just, they're so hurt and broken out there that they just think that's the way they should live. No, they don't understand that there's something better. Right. So it's a very complex situation. I understand that. You got my name, you got my number. I'll be here again if there's anything that I can do. I'm here to help. So I do have funding. I can do some things. I just and so if there's anything.
Thank you, Denise. We look forward to collaborating. Jody does have a comment.
Just a quick comment. I want to make sure that everyone is aware that there is shelter capacity in Stanislaus County. I would not say there's a lot of capacity, but there is capacity. It is important, especially during weather events like what we've experienced, that if there are individuals that are experiencing homelessness and would like to avail themselves of a shelter, we can make space available. We've also opened some additional evacuation centers over this last week that the sheriff discussed earlier today. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear about that point. We have lots of information about where to connect to, but if anybody's struggling with that, you can even call our office and we'll make sure you get connected to the right resource. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
All right, is there any further public comment before we move on to the consent calendar? Okay, please come up.
take this gentleman as
But,
first.
I'm sorry, ma'am, we have this gentleman first, and then you'll be next.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. And my name is Wayne Junso, Junso. And I've been here several times, many times in the audience. I've spoken maybe 3 or 4 times about my son and other people that need help. And I've asked you people twice to put yourself in a wheelchair. Put yourself out in the community in a wheelchair. I've asked you to clean up messes like my son goes in his bed. That has to be cleaned up. I've asked you to makeshift a mess and clean it up. Change the sheets. Wash everything. I've asked you to do many things. If you went back to a meeting I spoke at, it was many more things. But I wasn't going to necessarily speak today because you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over. But the Pledge of Allegiance woke me up and goes, we do have freedom. We do have service. You all have offered services and provide. And then I heard the prayer. And everything that was in the prayer, probably 15 things at least, and I kept going back to the UDW workers, not just them, but I'm a UDW, I take care of my son. And everything that we prayed about, it just fits us. It just fits us, the service, the dedication, just everything that was in the prayer. I was going to mention your microphone earlier in the year, if that was part of your chaotic meeting to get started, referring to the 15 votes, Congress, you know what that is. And just a little joke in there. Anyway, and then the DA, the service that she has provided, and the way she approaches things, her personality, just everything flows out so wonderful. Scott Peterson might not agree. But this is the UDW people. They provide service for the people that need it. People have been saying Happy New Year's. I've said Happy New Year's to many people. I think today, it sounds like today, that maybe people that we serve will have a better New Year with your vote. You know, we've just said the same things for so long. Later today or this week, I'd like to get a text from my union saying that the request has been offered and accepted. I want to thank you for many times I've been here. That very, very pleased your procedure, your mannerisms, and everything else. I wish the new chairman that also, and the whole board. Anyway, I will encourage you and encourage you and encourage you to please give us our requests. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, hi, good morning.
Good morning. I assume you got my little staff update with the 3 county clerks. Yes.
Can you state your name, ma'am?
My name is Margaret Countryman, as Mr. Bowes and Mr. Hayes well know. As your mother told me, you were going to understand exactly why I was here, Mr. Condit and Mr. Condit. It's this that you just figured out in October. You just figured out how to take a nuisance building down. We did a study, and now Mr. Graywall, who actually was at the committee meeting, I recognized expensive shoes from when I worked for John Grisey. Here's the assignments and roles of who did what. John Goulart. John Goulart and Birgit Flanagan were attached at the hip since 1990. You know why? You know how I know that? Because I've been writing their names on minute orders since 1990. Attached at the hip. So John Goulart's lie is Birgit's lie. She owns it. You want to hear it? I'll read it to you. That the City of Modesto City Council hears appeals of the appeals court. Now, that is an interesting situation that Mr. Hayes and Mr. Bose thinks is going to fly. Whereas, they like to add in whereas. Whereas, a resolution that does not match the number of the hearings. George Murphy filed an appeal with the city clerk. No. Neighbors filed an appeal with the Board of Zoning Adjustment. You want to hear what the county says? This is Goulart. Three across the top. 2 across the top is Jose. 3 across the top is Goulart. This is what it has to say. We reversed. Is this funny, Mr. Graywall? Is this funny to you? Because I just don't see it. That granting the appeal of George Murphy and overturning the decision of the Board of Zoning Adjustment denying the second-story balcony addition to the existing two-story garage is required for these reasons. And it gives you 2 paragraphs of reasons why this should be overturned by the City Council. Okay, can't be overturned. And most certainly not by the City Council. You understand that, Mr. Condit, and Mr. Condit, and Mr. Graywall. And Mr. Graywall still thinks this is funny. Mr. Bose isn't laughing when he looks at the 2 monies that were paid while this was under code enforcement. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't think it's funny. Mr. Hayes just sits there and stares at me with his big lizard eyes like he's not going to do anything except threaten me. Is the sheriff going to shoot me in the back? Because that's the only choice you have. You have to kill me, or I am going to claim my constitutional right to overturn the permit issued on May 8th. So you decide what you want to do. Do you want to eliminate me? After 10 years of lying, is that the answer, Mr. Condit? Is that your answer? Is that Dirksy's answer? Is that the answer to this? Is just to, let's just get rid of her. Let's kill her because we're lying. And 3 county clerks, I mailed your shit show. I mailed it to the Secretary of State. I typed it up and mailed it. Those hearings you held in this council for the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and Mr. Hayes now thinks this is funny. I'm sorry I'm missing the humor. Did you want to explain it to me? So it's funny. Uh-huh. Wow. I don't even have words to describe you. Or the board.
Thank you, Ms. Countryman. All right, does anyone else have any comments? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the items on consent. Oh, I'm sorry. Please come up. If anybody else has any comments, you please form a line. Hi, please state your name for the record. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sofia Rodriguez. Good morning, everyone. I'm here. I'm with my UDW members. There is nothing that we can speak about what we have talked in the past regarding our jobs, but there is something that I would like to say. If, from my understanding, our pay comes from state. Am I right? Did you guys know that? We get paid by the state, not through the county. Did you guys know that? Yes? No? Maybe? Okay. So now, so when we come here, we are talking city-wise. This is county-wise. I don't see much coming off of it. We go to our meetings. We talk to our supervisors, our managers, whoever is in charge of our jobs and regarding to our just mainly time cards, things with our clients, things like that. But what we see is that if the state it's the one that is in charge of payroll, then we shouldn't be here coming to you guys. And if you guys give us an option not to come over here, but to take it, see, this is more like, this is more like a, we're employees. So as employees, I go to Labor Commission when something is happening and it's not getting fixed. We go to Human Resources when we see something that's coming out wrong in our jobs or something that's not right, or we might think that it's not right. We're not very educated to do what we have to do in order for us to get a higher wage. We get what we get, and we are not happy about it. And obviously, I think none of them are happy about it. It's not because of what we do. It's how much we do. And even our overtime hours that are not paid, and you call the county, and there's nothing that they can do about it. We call about our timesheets, and there's things that they just said, oh, well, this is not us. But there is payroll coming. So when it's payroll coming, we should know where it's coming from. So we can speak to them and say, okay, if it's coming from the state, we can either put everyone's signatures, anything that has to be done, in order for us to know why is it that we are not getting a higher wage. When I'm going to my other jobs are giving me $1 every 6 months, or good for that. But I do have someone to take care of, and it's not only a family member. I do see it like a job because it's not only my mom. My mom is at home, and I can take care of her. They give me only 1 hour. When I'm there right after work, it's my time for her. I do my house, she's with me. She can live on a Social Security because all she gets is $1,200 a month. She wouldn't be able to pay no rent. So that's on my shoulders. I have a schizophrenic brother that never went to Social Security because when you go to Social Security, they have to say out of their words, I have a mental illness. That's not going to happen. My brother is mentally ill, and you can never, he's never going to say he's mentally ill. So he's 45 years old, living at my house. He works because I taught him how to work, and I'm younger than him. He works, his employee works with me. We kind of like got him together. He works. I know there's people that it's mentally ill, but they can get it together if they get the help they need. He's under medication. I pay Kaiser Permanent for him, which is $320 a month just for him because he has no family, no kids. His income goes all to my house, so where am I? And that's something that I wanted to see. I want to see how is it that we get paid by the state, and we cannot somehow get an answer. Why is it that we cannot file for something more when we are doing the job that we are supposed to be doing? I don't know about everybody else, but I was with my coworker last night because her client couldn't stay still. She's elderly, and I was there with her. Her hours were over. I don't work for that client, but I was there to help her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, just real quick, just a couple of quick comments on some of the questions there. And just from format, the public comment format doesn't really work well for just back and forth with board members, but I will answer on their behalf that all of them are aware that that the state of California does issue the paychecks for our HSS providers. We are also aware that the state, federal, and local jurisdictions help pay for the program, but the actual paycheck process is through the state of California. And as it relates to determining wage levels and who is responsible for that process, we have long held that it would make much more sense for the state of California to play a more active role in that process instead of looking to counties to be the lead on IHSS wages, although that is not the system that the state set up. It's in the law that has to happen here locally, even though the county pays the least amount of the wage between federal, state, and local. So just wanted to make those comments, but thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarity, Mr. Hayes. Any additional comments before we move on to consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to consent. Do any Board of Supervisors wish to pull any items? Okay, seeing none, do any members of the public wish to pull or comment on any items on consent? Okay, seeing none, I will bring it back to the board and I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Graywall and a second by Supervisor Buck-Condit. All those in favor? Aye. All those against? Okay, so it's unanimous. All right, well, we will take a 5-minute break. Yeah.
You lost your quorum.
Yeah. So, please be patient. We will resume shortly. Have scuffs on his shoes. And we will be having a presentation from Sheriff Jeff Dirksey. Sheriff, good morning. Happy New Year.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on being the new chair.
Thank you.
And I am back and not at the last second this time. The item before you today is for approval of a grant that we have received at the Sheriff's Office regarding gun violence reduction. We are always on the lookout for various grants that would allow us to serve the community better, and this is one that we have recently been awarded that we think has some good possibility for us. So, Brooke, if you will. So, the intention of this specific grant is to provide funding, resources, which equates to staff for law enforcement agencies, to focus on seizing weapons and and ammunition, but specifically the weapons, from people who are prohibited from possessing them, and that is the key thing here. There is obviously concern from some folks that we would be going after lawfully owned guns, and that is not the case. You're not going to find a much stronger Second Amendment supporter than I am, and that's not something that we have any interest in doing. It's people who are prohibited from having them. And we were awarded this grant to the tune of just shy of $600,000 there, and it will fund one deputy, specifically a detective, and another analyst, which is very much a growing field at the Sheriff's Department. Next one, Brooke. You can see the stats in front of you. There are about 413 prohibited people in our county that have a little over 1,000 guns, about 2.5 guns per, for rough math there. And you can see the categories there under B. And there are 2 items that are outlined in red, and those 2 specifically are going to be our first priorities. One of them is actually required by the grant, the mental health aspect of it, but also those with the felony conviction, because felons in possession of firearms is the single biggest source of crimes of violence in terms of the criminal element that's out there. So we absolutely want to go after them. Next one, Brooke. And you can see the 5 program objectives. I want to talk about a few of these. First, number 1, you can see the goals for the first year. I think that's relatively ambitious. Not that it's not attainable, but it's a fairly ambitious goal. I also want to kind of touch on number 4 specifically, and that and I've already said this, but it's those who are in violation of the law. So by definition, that makes them a criminal. And then the 5th item up there, the 5th objective, is adding resources to the stack. The stack is what I've referred to in the past as the Fusion Center. The Fusion Center is actually a defined term, and ours does not meet that criteria. It's Fusion Center is a combination of federal, state, and local resources. Ours is all local, but it is our analyst center that is co-located with SR 911 and OES. It's in a separate little building out there, and we are really trying to bolster that. We now call it the STAC, the Stanislaus Threat Assessment Center. Kind of makes for a catchy name, but we want to really have a lot of our information flow in and out of there and then get dispersed to our various agencies across the county. So increasing the staff and the resources out at the stack is kind of one of the key objectives. And that is really the intention of this program. Once you guys approve this, which I hope you will do shortly, we intend to run the recruitment for this detective. We will fill it forthwith and get the individual operating so that we can go and address this. And Brooke, I think you're going to read the staff recommendations, which we'll do, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So this morning, we asked the board to consider the following staff recommendations. Number 1, authorize the sheriff to accept a grant award in the amount of $568,604 from the California Department of Justice for the fiscal year 2023 Gun Violence Reduction Program Act. Number 2, authorize the sheriff to sign the agreement, all reimbursement claims, and other required documents. Number 3, authorize the auditor-controller to increase appropriations and estimated revenue by $147,157 in the Sheriff's Operations Legal Budget Unit as detailed in the attached budget journal. And number 4, amend the salary and position allocation resolution to reflect the recommended changes outlined in the staffing impact section of this report, effective the first full pay period after the Board of Supervisors approval. So with that, we are available for any questions you may have.
Do any members of the board have any questions?
Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, thanks. But Jeff, just real quick, I'm just curious how you're going to approach getting these weapons back. We'll start off with a letter. Well, it just sounds like a scary, kind of dangerous thing for our deputies to be out doing, and I just wonder how you guys are going to do this.
The answer to that is it depends. It depends on who the individual is. So there's a lot of folks on these lists that probably don't even know that they're in violation of this. Those kind of folks will get a letter. Now, if someone has a felony conviction, that will be identified. We do kind of our own threat assessment on those specific individuals, and then that detective will coordinate with probably our SIU team to where we can take them into custody safely. Depending on the threat, it could be something that turns into a full search warrant and a SWAT call-out, or maybe we can interdict them somewhere else in a safe manner. to where we can prevent any of that. So, like I said, the answer kind of depends. I suspect that a lot of folks, if they receive a letter or are contacted, again, they don't know, so they'll comply, and there are various ways where they can comply without any legal drama from us. And then, like I said, some may be relatively full operations.
Buck? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, is this a new grant, or has it been reoccurring and we just weren't successful in getting it, or?
Oh, Brooke, can you help me on that? I think this is the first one, I think.
This is
we've
the
seen.
second round of funding.
Second round.
There were some larger agencies that went through the process last time, and we just didn't put in for it.
Well, thanks for putting in for it this time. It's good.
Any additional questions?
And it would seem to me that parole and probation, since they're allowed to search, right, without a search warrant, most of the people are on searchable probation.
There is a category in there of probation specifically. There's juvenile, which we don't have any, and I don't see it off the top of my head. Oh, condition of probation, there's 24 currently, and so we'll coordinate with the probation department to work on those. And they may have some knowledge of these folks already.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Sheriff.
I'll make a motion to accept staff recommendations.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Withrow and a second by Supervisor Graywall. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Terry's first motion in over a year.
That's right. That felt good.
No rust at all, Terry. All right, moving on to discussion item number 2. We have a presentation by Erlinda Cassiano and Richard Daniels.
Good morning, Chairman Condit, board members, CEO Hayes, and County Council Bose. We are here today to request approval from the board to increase the existing contract that we have with the International Rescue Committee by $216,000 to support Afghan refugees with housing support services. Just to provide a little bit of background, Stanislaus County Community Services Agency has partnered with Modesto Turlock IRC, International Rescue Committee, branch for the last 16 years to assist refugees in this area. IRC helps people affected by humanitarian crisis to survive, recover, and rebuild their lives. Founded in 1933, IRC now works in over 40 crisis-affected countries. They assist refugees by providing health care, helping children learn, and empowering individuals and communities to become self-reliant. The county has an existing contract with them for the provision of refugee services in the amount of $400,000. The current IRC scope of work includes providing assistance and access to apply for public benefits, including CalWorks Welfare to Work, Refugee Cash Assistance Program, and Supplemental Security Income. They also provide case management with a focus on removing barriers, supporting and promoting employment, providing transportation and interpretive services directed towards customers' attainment of employment. Likewise, they provide employment services, which includes job placement, job readiness training, supportive services such as transportation and clothing reimbursement. They also provide employment and bridging-related services in accordance to the household's required participation hours. Orientation and appraisal includes individual and family stability assessments for education status, job skills, and work experience to determine needed supportive services and any personal and family needs. They also provide assistance completing the application process for legal permanent resident and citizenship status. Due to the recent political and military action taken in Afghanistan, Stanislaus County has experienced an influx of Afghan special immigrants, as Stanislaus County is one of the top resettlement counties in California. The Office of Refugee Settlement has reported that California received over 4,000 refugees in federal fiscal year 21-22. For this federal fiscal year 22-23, they are projecting reception and placement of over 12,000 refugees in California, and that's an increase of approximately 200% from prior year. It's estimated that 950 of these refugees will resettle here in Stanislaus County, which will result in an increase of 200% also this fiscal year. Last year in August, we received a one-time Afghanistan supplemental appropriation allocation for refugee support services in the amount of $540,000 to address the unmet needs of Afghan newcomers in Stanislaus County, and this funding is available through September 30th, 2024. The contract amendment being requested in the amount of $216,000 would only apply to current Afghan refugee customers who are referred by CSA and are engaged in case management and employment services. The contract amendment to the scope of work includes short-term and long-term housing, which includes providing supportive services such as housing rental assistance, security deposits, and hotel reimbursements. IRC will also review housing documents, including but not limited to rental or lease agreement, to ensure validity and protection for the customers. The amendment also includes case management related to housing support services as listed on this slide. The following recommendations are being made. We are seeking board approval to amend CSA's agreement with the International Rescue Committee for this fiscal year for the provision of refugee support services and employment services in the amount of $216,000, retroactively for the term of November 1st through June 30th, 2023. Also to authorize CSA Director or designee to sign and execute amendment to the agreement for refugee services in the amount of $216,000 for the same term period. Additionally, to authorize CSA Director or designee to sign amendments for additional services and payments for services, budget permitting, throughout the term of the agreement.
Thank you for the presentation. Does board members have any questions? Terry?
If I could, just a quick one here. So we have been contracting with IRC for several years, it sounds like, for a long time.
For the last 16 years.
16 years, and it's been $400,000 a year that we've, each one of those years, I guess the same amount, or some, has that changed over the years? I just wonder, and then I just wonder, the follow up to that, and that money comes from, not from our general fund, but from the state, is that right? I'm just wondering where that money comes from. Sorry, Erlinda or Richard,
No,
either
that's
one,
okay.
sorry.
He's got the historical knowledge, so I'm going to
Okay,
turn to
so
Richard.
All right, thanks,
Historically,
Richard.
the contract has adjusted throughout the time depending on what our allocation has been from the state.
Okay.
We also supplement the contract with welfare to work dollars from our single allocation for CalWorks, because some of these families are not only refugee cash assistance families, but they're families that are CalWorks eligible. So we're able to supplement the dollars that way. Every year the contract dollar amount changes based on what that allocation is, and we're able to make that adjustment as needed.
Perfect, that's good. And then we received this one-time funding, it sounds like a few months back, 6 months ago or whatever, for the $540,000, which will go towards this 216, I guess, that we're doing now. And then we'll look at this again next year, next year's budget, I guess, to see how much the contract will be for the next year, I guess.
Correct.
This 216 won't be a permanent necessarily thing. It'll just depend on what you guys propose next year in the budget.
That is correct. There is the remainder of the 540 that's going to go to the next fiscal year's
Perfect.
budget. Yes.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, we will entertain comments from the public. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will bring it back to the board.
Motion to approve all staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Chiesa and a second by Supervisor Buck Condit. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on to correspondence.
This board has received the correspondence and claims as noted on the agenda.
Acknowledge receipt of correspondence and refer as recommended on the agenda. Okay, moving on to item 10, Board of Supervisors reports. Any supervisors wish to report on anything going on?
I just want to thank the Public Works Department. They're having a...
No, go ahead. I was going to do the same thing.
they're carrying around all these buckets we were talking about because the roads are falling apart with this rain. And a couple of times I called them on Friday afternoon at 4:30, and they went out after hours and went and found the holes and fixed them. So that's just something I think a shout out was necessary.
Absolutely. Buck?
Yeah, I was just going to do the same thing. A shout out to our public works personnel that are out there fixing the roads and taking care of the flooded road situation, road closures, and also our CERT team, our Stanislaus County CERT team that are out there filling sandbags or doing whatever they're requested to do. And our EOC staffing, those guys are sometimes working out of their working in a different position. And so our Stanislaus County employees are great. They just step up to the challenge every time we have to deal with a situation. So I just want to thank all of them.
Thank you, Buck. And I do want to report that I've been contacted by some of our legislators, Assemblymember Alan Neese, Senator Alvarado Gil, and a representative from Congressman Duarte's office has reached out personally to me and has offered assistance in flooding. Any sort of assistance, they are on standby and ready to help when needed. I do want to acknowledge some of our legislative aides in the office today with Assemblymember Alan Neese's office as well as Congressman Duarte's office. If you gentlemen would like to come and introduce yourselves, you're more than welcome to. Oh, and
my name is Michelle Finch, and I'm here representing Assemblymember Alanis, and I am happy to be in the building. We're upstairs on the 5th floor if anybody needs us, and we're just happy to be here in the thick of things. So this is my
thank
part.
you, Michelle.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, everyone here today. My name is Justin, and I am also a field representative with Assemblyman Juan Alanis. We've been working diligently with casework. We've hit the ground running so far this year since Juan has had the opportunity to be sworn into office, and we're trying, just as hard as you guys are, to make as much information available regarding the state of emergency that's going on here in our county and Merced County as well, since we do cover part of their area as well.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kriston Santos. I'm a field representative with our new Congressman, John Duarte. I also just wanted to commend Aaron Wilson from the Stanislaus County Emergency Services Office. He's been very forthcoming in communication with our office. And, for the record, our district has the west side of Stanislaus County, so west side Modesto, all of the city of Ceres, and the west part of Turlock. And we've had evacuations early this morning or last night in Newman, as you're aware, and we've been receiving lots of communication, and we're ready to meet the moment. As we all know, Stanislaus County did have the emergency declaration signed by the President, and we're ready to meet the moment in our office should any need arise for federal resources, and we look forward to working with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate it and look forward to working with you moving forward. All right, moving on to Legislative Fiscal and Management Report. CEO Hayes.
Yeah, just a quick note to acknowledge that Governor Newsom did release his January budget proposal this morning for fiscal year 23-24. We were definitely expecting some reductions in funding, but on our first read of the budget, we're not seeing anything that causes significant concern to us at the county level, but do need to acknowledge that the state is identifying in this budget proposal a $22.5 billion shortfall. So there will be some impacts over time here, and we expect that to kind of be the theme going forward. So that's all I have to report this morning. Thank you.
All right, thank you for reporting that, CEO Hayes. And before we adjourn, we do have items on closed session. So, Mr. Bose.
Yes, we have closed session this morning. We have two items. The first is a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Subdivision D1. We have one case there, Richard Craig West Sr. et al. Versus County of Stanislaus et al. It's in the Superior Court of California, County of Stanislaus, and the case number is CV 20004848. Sitting as the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority, the board in closed session will consider a conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency negotiators are listed in the agenda, and the labor organization is the In-Home Supportive Services, UDWA. With that, it would be appropriate for public comment on closed session.
All right, any members of the public wish to comment? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn this meeting at 10:47.